Alright, what's up everyone? cbfwebs here, and I'm going to do a couple CD reviews coming up, and I got pretty much all the Jedi Mind Tricks CDs that I want. I don't have their first or their last for reasons I'll explain later, but like the first record was is okay, but it's not really my cup of tea, you know. And it wasn't really until this record right here I started getting into them. The first time I heard them was when this album came out. It was in the year 2000, and I just got into hip-hop like a couple years right before that. So by the time I heard this from a friend that I was hanging out with all the time, I mean, I was just hooked. And I'm going to talk about like why and like how sick they are as hip-hop artists and stuff, and what this record's all about. Alright, so I just kind of want to get right into it, and basically Jedi Mind Tricks, if you've never heard of them, they're an underground hip-hop group, and they never really like went commercial or anything like that, never really hit Billboard album sales, but even though they didn't do that, like they had a huge following just from shows they were doing, and just the sound that they created that nobody else was bringing. So a lot of fans like just, you know, flocked to the stores to buy their CDs regardless, and because of that, they ended up selling a lot of records. And the way they come up is really unique and interesting, so I'm going to talk about that for a minute. Basically, when they first came out, they were called Soulcraft or something I think it was Soulcraft, yeah. And it was in 1996, and they were basically still in high school and stuff. The members of Jedi Mind Tricks are Vinny Paz, who's the MC, and then you have Stoop, who's also called Stoop the Enemy of Mankind, and he's the production, the beat maker, the producer guy. So basically, he's not in the group anymore, but when they first came out, they didn't have Stoop on board yet. It was basically just Vinny Paz, who was going under the name Icon, the verbal hologram at that time, and he wanted to create his own record label. So he got his boy together to scrape up some money and you know, basically save up enough to where they could form their own record label. They did that, and they called it Super Regular Recordings. And while Vinny Paz was still in high school, they had a group called Soulcraft. It was him and like two other boys that he was cool with, and they released a cassette tape EP. It just had some, you know, demo rough tracks on it, and they were slanging that around their high school. Well, they made a little bit of money off that, and that combined with his boy Pablo, they ended up forming the record label, and then formed Jedi Mind Tricks. When they got Stoop on board, they had to sit him down, talk with him, and say, nah, you know, we don't want you to basically, we don't want to pay you to give us beats, like, and then you just give us beats, and then we're, you know what I mean? You need to come on board and be part of this record label and be our in-house producer and this and that. So they sat him down, talked with him. He got on board with it, and then they formed the record label. And then the first thing they released was an EP called Amber Probe. So moving on from that, they made a little bit of money off of that. Whatever they sold, they pressed up. Everybody loved the sound. They kept having to press up more and more copies. They made a lot of money off it, and then they were able to put out the first album. And the first album was just some crazy shit, you know. It basically was just it was a concept album, which Vinny Paz has gone on record coming out years later saying that they shouldn't have done that first. Concept album should have came later in the group's career. Like, you never want to do that for a rap career. Just that's like career suicide, basically, coming out with something that fans don't understand first and then trying to develop your career off of that. Your debut album should be like what you represent, but not so much in the fact that it just goes beyond like just crazy concepts no one understands because they don't even know you as a group yet or as a solo artist yet. You know what I mean? Your debut album should be like what you represent, what kind of artist you are, and like here's the things I talk about, here's the things I rap about, whatever, you know what I mean? So the fact that they came first and put out some crazy ass shit, I mean, it was like the concepts was I'm trying to think here. The subject matter that they were talking about were like space and like conspiracy theories, like physics, time travel, you know, like science fiction shit you would find on fucking Sci-Fi Channel and shit, like sliders and shit like that. They make references to that kind of stuff. There's some religious themes in there, and they got a religious rap group called Lost Children of Babylon to feature on that album. Well, when it came time to make this album, Lost Children of Babylon basically departed because Vinnie Paz had this great idea to make a super group called Army of the Pharaohs, and they came out with a 12-inch single, and that was kind of the prelude to this album here. I mean, it basically showed Stoops' new direction with beats. It was dark, it was eerie, it was something no one's ever heard before. I mean, you know, and Lost Children of Babylon heard that, and they're like, wait a minute, we thought you was a religious group. We're not really with this dark, like, you know, kicking rhymes type shit, like you know, saying how ill you are and this and that. That's pretty much what they were doing, a lot of braggadocio type stuff. And Lost Children of Babylon thought they were a religious group because of that first CD. So they left, and they departed. So Vinnie Paz was no longer working with them. He was kicking it around his homeboy, Just Allah, who was from New Jersey a lot. And so Just Allah was coming to the studio and kicking it with them and hanging out with them, drinking 40s, whatever. And so they ended up inducting him onto this record. And they dropped the first single, which was called Heavenly Divine. And that's pretty much known today as their trademark song. I mean, it was the first time they came out and showed a whole different style. Vinnie Paz got way more aggressive. He had a metal plate put in his mouth, so then his voice changed a little bit. He was more like growling and barking when he was rapping. And people were like terrified of that. They were like, holy shit, this guy, you know what I mean? And he was just slaughtering rappers on the songs. So when Just Allah came into the fold and he said, hey, we're going to work on this new record and stuff, Just Allah came up with the idea that we need to just go all out on this album, Vinny. You know what I mean? He basically convinced him, like, let's just say the most craziest shit we can say, the most craziest content. We need to get this to, you know, be a classic record. And so that's what they did. I mean, the lyrics consisted of, like, religion references, but it was only quick references. It wasn't like their first album where they were going into, like, all this conspiracy theory stuff. This one was more like quick references. An example of that would be Vinnie Paz saying the line, Icon is known to put poison in Christian communions. I mean, that he doesn't really say, like, what does that mean? He doesn't go off on a tangent about that. It's not a whole verse about it. It's just some quick reference, and then he goes off on some other shit, you know, other quick references to other things. And that's an example of what the whole album is like. I mean, they'll drop one-liners about things, and you'll just be like, oh shit, what was he talking about? That was dope. And other subject matter includes like fantastical beasts like unicorns they're talking about. Just Allah has a line about Pegasus and shit, which is sick. And then Roman Greco mythology and just some more braggadocio as well. So they really go into some, like, you know, crazy ideas that actually sound really good over Stoops' production on this. Production, like I said, is pretty much Stoop, the enemy of mankind. He carries this entire album with his production. If it wasn't for that, this probably wouldn't be as classic or as sick, even with all the dope lyrics. But you got just crazy, crazy melodies and grooves by Stoop. Just something from 2000 that no one ever heard before and no one ever heard after. So this is definitely their most revered album. And then you got Army of the Pharaohs, the 12-inch that they dropped, the single. They actually ended up putting on here with a remix that wasn't heard on the actual EP that they dropped earlier in 1999. So yeah, so you had AOTP Formation dropping the EP. The singles came out. The singles were Heavenly Divine, Genghis Khan, and Retaliation, which were all fucking dope. And, you know, their fans were feeling this stuff. Even though it didn't get any radio airplay or any kind of music videos or anything. So, I mean, it was just basically off the strength of word of mouth. This album sold like crazy, and really developed Jedi Mind Tricks and their new sound, and kind of transitioned Icon the Verbal Hologram into Vinnie Paz in more of an aggressive type, you know, rapper or MC. with his current sound nowadays. So yeah, and then and then after this, doing the shows and everything like that. Here, let me show the back cover here. As you can see, it's like a lot of tracks, and then it's a picture of one of their shows, which you can see it's like an underground nightclub, and fucking people are just going crazy and shit. And the track list, this is actually a deluxe edition re-release, so it has a bunch of bonus tracks, and which were basically from the singles, all the B-sides and remixes from the singles they actually included on here. And then one extra track, which is called Untitled, which I actually feel that they should have called that The Last Stones of Christ, because that's kind of how the chorus goes. Just the Law says something like, "We laugh as we pass the last stones of Christ," or something like that. And they should have really just titled it that. I mean, calling it Untitled kind of seems a little cheesy and like unfinished, like a demo like version. So I don't know what they did there, but they really should have titled that an actual title for a song. And then here, let me just show the inside and stuff. This is the deluxe edition. Once they got signed to Baby Grand off this record, Baby Grand went back a couple years later and re-released this under their label. So then you basically got a digipack deluxe edition. Oh, and then let me talk about this. The cover was actually taken from the Vietnam War, from the Battle of Dak 2. And I guess this guy is going to call for a medic for help. There's some dude dying behind him or something like that. So it really showcases like what the whole theme of the album is, I guess. So they wanted that for the cover, because it's like war type shit, like, you know what I mean. Once you hear the record, you will definitely understand. And then this inside here is just kind of like I don't know, just some father holding a gun to his kid or some shit. Not really sure where that's from. I've looked online. There's no information where they got that picture from. What's kind of sick, actually, because it's, you know, the theme of the album. Then you open it up. Here, let me open it all up here. So you got basically, I think that's Stoop right there, actually. You can barely see him because it's kind of like filtered out in green. But then there's the CD, and then you got the DVD. And then over here is kind of like the Jedi Mind Trick symbol, the Asian symbol, which they didn't come out with until like 2 albums later. Since this is a re-release, they went back and included it in. And then the DVD actually has the I Who Have Nothing music video from their first album. They made a music video for I Who Have Nothing. They wanted that to be a single, but the single it didn't really come out like that. I mean, it wasn't really looked at as a single, or it didn't get any airplay or nothing like that. So in reality, their first single was actually from the CD, which was Heavenly Divine, which is, like I said, their trademark song, considered by fans to be. So that has the music video on this DVD. And then for their next album, Visions of Gandhi, when they actually got signed to Baby Grand Records off the strength of this album here, they went on tour for the first time, because they're a Philly group. They never really left Philly. So when Baby Grand signed them, they got them all prepped up and ready to go for a tour and stuff. And that pretty much is documented here on this DVD. So in the re-release, they've included that, and then like a bunch of extra stuff. And then here's the here, let me show you the booklet if I can get this camera. All right, hold on. Kind of hard to do this with two hands, whatever. All right, so and then here's the booklet, right? It's kind of like I never really had the original copy, so I can't tell if it's the same design as the original. But there's this big old foreword about when they recorded it by a dude named Fat Tony, who was writing for a magazine. And then, hold on, there's the original picture of all three of them, Stoop, Just the Law, and Vinny. I'm running out of time here. And then there's the track list, and then some credits and copyright stuff. And then the back, which is the picture of the nightclub that fans have asked for and tried to search for on the internet for many years and never been able to find it. So they knew that, so they wanted to go ahead and include it like that. And it's actually the back cover of the vinyl. I just hope one day they re-release this in like a premium edition, like they did with Nonfiction, and include all the vinyl singles with it. But yeah, so that's my review. You guys should cop it. It's a great album. All right. This is CBF Webs signing out. Peace.